Jeremy Kyle answered questions at the Steve Dymond inquest on Thursday after the guest killed himself 7 days after appearing on The Jeremy Kyle Show. Tragic Steve died at the age of 63 from an overdose of morphine and a heart problem. He was found dead at his home in Portsmouth, Hampshire, on May 9, 2019, after failing a lie detector test on the show. During the controversial episode, Dymond faced allegations of infidelity towards his partner, Jane Callaghan, also from Hampshire, and submitted to a polygraph test. Winchester Coroner's Court discovered that Mr Dymond died in his home due to a fatal mix of an overdose and a heart condition known as left ventricular hypertrophy. Mr Dymond's son, Carl Woolley, was told by his uncle Leslie Dymond that his father was very upset after filming the show. During the inquest, the court was shown footage from the show in which Dymond appeared, which never aired on ITV. The station made the decision to pull Kyle's hit show forever after hearing about Steve's death. In the episode, the court saw Kyle describe Mr Dymond as a liar before his partner Jane Callaghan appeared and was interviewed by Kyle, who explained how determined Dymond was to get on the show, even going to see his doctor about it beforehand. Asked if she thinks he will pass the lie detector test, Ms. Callaghan said it is 50-50. Dymond then took to the stage and was interviewed by Kyle, who asked him, "Why do you lie so much?" Dymond broke down as he replied, "If I knew the answer, I would not be here. I just lied to her for no reason." He then discussed his depression and his strained relationship with his GP before admitting he was desperate to come on the show to Mr. Kyle. Later, Kyle says his behavior was a bit dodgy in regards to a trip to the New Forest, but Dymond denies he did anything wrong. Kyle then asked the audience for a show of hands as to who thought he will pass the lie detector. Most of the audience thought he would pass. The presenter then confronted Dymond with the results of the test, and Miss Callaghan fled the stage in upset. Behind the stage, she was seen being comforted as she broke down in tears, and Mr Dymond followed, pleading for her to believe him. Mr Kyle then confronted Mr Dymond and said, "I wouldn't trust you with a chocolate button, mate. I don't think you know what the truth is." Mr Dymond cried as he responded, saying, "I am being so straight, so straight." The TV host said he categorically failed the test and insisted the show stand by the results as Ms. Callaghan broke down further on the sofa beside him. He then said to a protesting Mr. Dymond, "Your conscience will serve you in time. The truth is, you have asked us to do something and you have failed it. Be a man, grow a pair of balls, and tell her the goddamn truth." Responding to the clips shown to court, Mr. Kyle said, "What I see in those clips is that from the moment Steve came out, I was very complimentary. I called him pal and mate. But you see, in those clips, I de-escalated it and calmed it down. That for me was what the show was always about." He went on, "Yes, it was direct, but it was also manufactured in different situations. In those clips you can see empathy and all sorts of things, and that's how I see it." Asked by Mrs. Spearing about his confrontational style, he said, "I think the people who came on the show, which had been on air for 15 years, knew the approach was about conflict resolution, and it was always the same with that same persona. Yes, it was direct, but I was also empathetic and honest, and I look at those clips and I see that journey." Mr. Kyle was then asked if the aim was about humiliation, and he denied it by answering, "I read earlier in the week that incited the audience to boo. I did nothing of the such. If you look at the footage, I actually asked the audience to give them a round of applause. That's what the show was, and the people that came on the show knew that." He said he met Mr. Dymond for 15 minutes only and admitted he mentioned offering him a shovel at one point and that it was frustration that Steve was lying. Rachel Spearing, counsel to the inquest, asked Mr. Kyle, "Do you believe he was humiliated?" He replied, "I do not, and I have read over time apparently I called him a traitor. I didn't. That he was cowering. I did what I always do and always did. It was what the show, as I understood the show is. Sad as it might sound, it was a typical part." He added, "It was a show with my name on it, with a production team and an aftercare team behind it." Jeremy Kyle's barrister, Neil Sheldon KC, then questioned the TV host. He asked him if he was asked if he should handle Mr. Dymond with any more care than other guests, and he said he was not. Although Mr. Kyle noted he was aware that Mr. Dymond had repeatedly tried to come on to the show, but that the aftercare team had declined his request until he had more help. Mr. Kyle said, "That gave me the double security blanket, if you like." Asked by Mr. Sheldon KC to explain that, he said, "I had complete faith in the production teams and the aftercare teams after 15 years. He went away desperate to come and went back to his GP. I had the security of the production team and the security if the GP passing him.